Hi everyone, Arslan here again with Elite Residential Design. Back again with part 2 of our Barndominium Revit Beginner's Guide part 2. In this part we're going to focus on creating our walls for our Barndominium project. But before we dive into that, I just wanted to do a quick recap on what I did in part 1, which was we created our frost walls and our slab on grade. And we also created our grid lines and our levels as well. So everything is predefined now, and now we can just start modeling all our different elements like doors, walls, roofs, slabs, floors, etc. Okay, and with that being said, let's get started. All right, guys, let's get started here. Before we dive in, I just wanted to make a note that I added an additional grid line between grid line 2 and 4, well, and 2 and 3. But this grid line is 20 feet 6 inches away from grid line 2. Please make a note of that. And I've dimensioned all my grid lines, and the dimensions are on the screen. So please make sure you have all the dimensions the same as me for following along. But that's all I have done so far. I've added nothing else, just added an additional grid line between grid line, or after grid line 2, and it's 20 feet 8 inches away. Okay, with that out of the way, we can start modeling our walls. So to model the walls in, head over to the architecture tab and hit the wall icon, or type in WA to it'll bring you to the same dialog. Okay, and then you'll see all the different wall assemblies that are available to you that you've created or that are preloaded into the assembly. And you can see I have the exterior 2x6 board and batten and exterior 2x8 board and batten. So I've created these two for this Barndominium project. Okay, so and I also created the interior 4.5 inch partition wall as well as interior 6.5 inch partition walls. These are the 4 different walls that I'm going to have in my project. Okay, so we are going to get started by modeling in our walls. But before I do that, actually, maybe I'm going to show you how these assemblies actually look like. So, for example, the interior 6.5 inch, if we open it up, and let's click on the preview button, you can see how you would go about creating it is you would just duplicate that wall and rename it, and then edit the structure of it to exactly what you want. Okay, so in this scenario, you can see that we have drywall on either side, and so they're known as finish 2 in this scenario, but really one should be finish 1, one should be finish 2. That's okay. So we have 1/2 inch drywall on both sides, and then 2x6 studs in the middle, which ends up with a thickness of 5.5 inch. Okay, and then next I'm going to show you the 4.5 inch, which is the exact same replica, except our structure is now 3.5 inch, representing the 2x4s. So the one I want to bring your attention to next is the actual exterior 2x6 board and batten wall that we'll be using. Here in Alberta, Canada, this is the type of wall assembly that we typically have. We have our exterior finish, and then we have our plywood sheathing, and then we have our 2x6 studs at whatever spacing, and then we have our vapor barrier, and then we have our interior drywall. So in this scenario, you can see just the order of it, and really these are really easy to make. You can insert, duplicate, and all that stuff. And make sure to hit the preview, and you have two options in the preview. You have the floor plan, and you also have the section, right? So just right now you see the floor plan. I'm switching over to the section to show you guys that you can really see the breakdown a bit clearer in the section. So you have your drywall, you have your sheathing, you have your finish. Yeah, so that's really it, right? And it's really nice and easy to work with. And we'll switch over to the 2x8 now to show you that it's exactly the same. The only change being that our structure layer is now 7.25 inch to represent 2x8 studs. All right. So yeah, nothing else changed. Literally, that's the only thing. And you can see in the preview, as I highlight the different layers, they actually get highlighted in our preview, which is very cool and very easy to use because of that. Okay, so with that, let's start modeling our walls in now, okay? And I'll actually be switching over to the 2x6 wall because that's our wall basically all around our house, and then the shop wall is really the 2x8. So we'll start with the 2x6. You want to pay attention to the height specifically. In this scenario, we're going to be going from the first floor to the first floor ceiling level. So really, uh, the first floor ceiling, because our floor above would actually be resting on the walls, the first floor walls. So you want to, it makes sense to go up to level 1 first floor ceiling, not the second floor. Okay, that's the reason behind it. Some people do it the other way, which is, I guess there's really no right and wrong answer, but I like to do it as if I'm constructing the house, and I think of it from the structure perspective as well. So with that selected, we'll use the first floor ceiling, okay, and we'll start modeling this wall inward. So let's start modeling it in. And I think what I'll do is, oh yeah, one more thing. Make sure your location line is set to core face exterior. I like to use the core face exterior location line. It just works out better for me, but there are other options available like wall center line and wall exterior face and finish face, but use the core uh, exterior face. It's just easier. So we're going to start at grid line 2 and B right here. And I'm going to come down 4 feet and we're going to go over. And if you end up or if you see that your wall is actually on the wrong side of the grid line, just hit the space bar and it will actually flip the wall over. So right now I'm just going to go around the house and create our 2x6 exterior wall, and that's really it. And now I'm going to switch over to our 2x8 and finish this off. So let's switch to 2x8, start from the grid line, and you can see it's in the wrong orientation, so I'm going to hit the space and you can see it flipped over, and we're just going to go around the house now and finish this. Okay, perfect. So those are our exterior walls. So in the 3D view, you can see we have our board and batten exterior walls ready to go. All right, and I have the board and batten pattern loaded into my material, but you might not have that. Doesn't matter. Just pick a material from the catalog and apply that to material. Yeah, even in the realistic view, you'll only see it if you turn off the tech preview and load the rendering mode, and there you go. And you can see like it looks really nice, but this is pretty heavy on my computer, so I'm just going to leave it at consistent colors and switch to accelerated graphics tech preview. This will keep things nice and fast for me as I record this video. All right, so now that our exterior walls are done, we're going to focus on our interior walls, okay? So I happen to know that I have a 2x6 wall on grid line 2. So I'm going to switch over to a 2x6, which is just interior 6.5 inch, right? And we're still in the core face exterior mode, and we're gonna model this wall in from one end to the other end, okay? Just like that. And then you can see it's not really flush here, so what we'll do is we'll use the align tool. So press AL, or you can go up here and pick the align tool right here. And press tab to hover and select the drywall, hit it. So we want to lock that wall to this face, and then we're just going to lock it to make sure it's nice and flush. Perfect. And the core face, you can see, lines up really nicely with our grid line, so that's good. So that's our 2x6 wall right there, and now we're going to focus on creating the rest of our interior walls. So this area right here is our front porch area, and then this area right here is our patio, covered roof patio area, okay, with a gable roof here. Same. We're gonna have a gable roof here in the porch area too. We'll get to that later, but we happen to have an entry closet right here. So for that entry closet, oh, something weird going on here. I'm just using the trim tool here, so TR, and I'm gonna use TR to trim these two walls to make sure it's nice and flush and we don't get any weird finishes here. Yeah, so to do that, you can hit the TR on your keyboard or select that icon above and do that. And you can do the same thing on the wall below too, but I don't think it's good. Yeah, so it's already good, so it's not really going to allow us to do anything. So let's switch over to our 2x4 wall, which is interior 4.5 inch partition wall. And I'm just going to eyeball this quickly here to model our closet in. And I happen to know that the dimensions for this specific closet actually happened to be 3 feet by 7 feet 8. So I'm just going to dimension this and use the dimensions to really narrow in that exact same size of that closet. Okay, so 3 feet there, and then we want this to be 7 feet 8 inches. So let's just go in here and do 7 feet 8 inches. Perfect. That's our entry closet right here. We'll come back and we'll add doors and windows later on, but right now the focus for this video is strictly on walls. So let's just do that. I'm going to delete these for now because it's just going to crowd the whole plan right now. So next we're going to switch to interior 6.5 inch. I know that we have a wall that separates our entry from our living space, so it's going to go right here. And then we'll just dimension this again and make sure we get the exact spot for it. So I happen to know that this is 12 feet. So we'll type in 12 and get that there. And then I'm just trying to figure out what the dimension is from that closet wall. So it looks like that dimension, let's see what this right now is. So 7 feet 6.25 inch. And I think it should be 8 feet 3.5 inch if I'm correct. So I'm just gonna use it. You can either use the temporary dimensions that are here or use the dimensions that you just put in. I always like to put my own dimensions because I know I'm gonna have to do it eventually anyways. So might as well use them to get your walls exactly where they are. So we'll use it, click on the wall, and then the dimension gets highlighted. So just use that to kind of place exactly where those need to go. So every 3.5 inches is how far that wall is from that wall. So perfect. We got our little entry area right there. All right, let's keep going by modeling our rest of our interior walls in here. So I'm actually gonna just go ahead and start kind of working my way up from the north. And we happen to know that, well, I happen to know that we're gonna have a pantry up here. So let's start modeling in our pantry in here. So I'm gonna switch over to select the 6.5 inch wall here, and we're gonna use that. Uh, let's dimension it from this core face to this core face. Yeah, and then so that dimension is going to be 9 feet 8. And then we can actually move this to here to, that I know what that size is. And then let's close this off. And I know, so here's another cool trick. You can actually hit another existing wall type that you like to do and hit CS, and it will actually turn it, the wall mode to that specific wall type, and then you can just come in here and place it. So let's figure out the size of this pantry now. I would like this pantry to be, let's dimension this and right here. So that happens to be, oh, just get that right. That happens to be 9 feet 11.5 inch. Let's make that 9 feet 2. And then let's see what our other dimension ends up being here, right here. So that's also 9 feet 2. I actually need it to be 7 feet 6 in this direction. So that's our pantry right here, okay? I'm just going to move this dimension over a little bit. So that's our garage space, and then we'll have a pantry into our kitchen, and then we'll have a bonus space here, and we'll have some stairs, L-shaped stairs here, and then a half bath here, and our living space down here, dining here, and then kitchen here, and our patio here. Okay, so that's sort of the, just wanted to kind of show you that the lay of the land here. Let's keep going and model the rest of this interior, the rest of the interior walls of this house. So I happen to know that the office is going to look a little weird, so I'm just going to come here with a 2x6, and we're going to just make sure we get the approximate size of this office space. I'm trying to target 11 feet 2 by 11 feet 2, so let's start dimensioning this guy right here. Right now we got 14 feet and 3, so I'm going to just make this 11 feet 2. So that's one, and then I'm going to hit create similar and just kind of close this up with that wall over there. And just align these two walls together. Now, again, this is what I was saying. This office slash den space looks a little weird. We want this wall to be actually 2 feet over to kind of make a little indent. But exactly where that indent needs to be, I haven't really figured that out. But we know that even in the other direction, we want 11 feet too. So what you can do is you can use a split tool to split this wall. So that's up here You can either type in SL, but before we do that, you do need to make sure you kind of separate that wall after you do the split. So if you hit SL, you can split the wall. What I did was, again, I just went here into the split element tool, shortcut SL, and you can split it. Okay, so let's do that again the proper way here. There we go. And let's move this over, and you can see it's going to drag the whole thing over. So in order to do this properly, you will have to disconnect these two walls and then move this one over 2 feet. So you can see the temporary dimension here is 9 feet 8. I'm just going to change this to 11 feet 8, and that will push it over 2 feet. Okay, and then we'll do pretty similar, and we'll kind of line this up, and we'll extend this one up to kind of connect that. Okay, so let's try dimensioning this to make sure we got it to be 2 feet. Perfect, that's 2 feet. I'm just gonna move this guy over a bit. Okay, so I think this is good. That indent should be enough for the fridge there, but let's just, I think I want to move this over slightly because really we only need a room, a door there. So let's make this 4 feet 6, just so that we get enough space for a door there. That's fine. So this is where our kitchen's gonna go again, and dining and our stairs are gonna be here, and then we're gonna have a half bath right here. So let's focus on creating our half bath next, okay? So in theory, this wall is going to carry forward, but it's going to turn into a pony wall under the stairs. So I'm not really going to do that right now, but I do need to figure out my stairs and my half bath here. So let's start by modeling our half bath here. So we'll switch to the 4.5-inch wall, and we'll just quickly come here and draw a little box. But I happen to know that I want my stairs to be 3 feet 6 wide. So I'm just going to take a measurement here to ensure we get that 3 feet 6 here. So type in 3 feet 6. Perfect. And then I also want to try to get 3 feet 6 here. And the bathroom size is going to really depend on how wide of a staircase we put here. So let's make this 3 feet 6 as well. So yeah, looks pretty symmetrical right now. Let's see if we can stick to those dimensions. And let's see what kind of size we get for this half bath. So I'm gonna dimension this to try to see what I can make this half bath size. I would like it 7 feet 10 by 4 feet, but let's just see. Okay, so we're at 7 feet 3. So we can definitely push this to 4 feet to open the space up a little bit, but then let's maybe just keep the same dimensions so that I can, so I'm using the reference plan that I already have to kind of recreate this model. So I want to stick to the dimensions as closely as I can, but things are going to change. So you know what, let's just put 7 feet 10 here, and our staircase is just going to be a little smaller on this end, which is fine. Yeah, that's fine. We'll stick to that. Okay. So with that, I'm going to leave these dimensions on here so you guys can replicate this whole plan, main floor at least. Actually, I am missing the mechanical space in the garage. So let's go create the mechanical space in the garage as well. So yeah, let's select our walls and start making a box here as well. We're gonna have a door, and then we're just gonna have a mechanical room that kind of extends up until grid line 3 here, basically underside of our second floor end. So switch to 4.5, quickly box this in. We'll align this wall to the grid line and lock it. But we want these mechanical walls to actually be interior 6.5-inch because they're going to be thicker walls. So yeah, let's do that. Lock it in. There's this weird little thing happening here, but I think it's just due to the fact that we have two different structures butting into each other. But you can mess around with these settings and get it exactly, which clean up exactly how you want. But honestly, for what we're trying to do here, I don't want to dive in here and waste more of your time. We'll just model of 2F4 here and call it quits. I think it cleans up pretty nice already anyways, and it's fine. Yeah, that looks okay, honestly. Let's leave it at that for now. We can come back to it if it really annoys us that much, but let's leave it at that. Okay, perfect. And then up here, oh yeah, so let's dimension this mechanical room now. Let's let's see. So I would like a mechanical room to be at least, 14 feet by 7 feet 10-ish. So we got the 7 feet 10 here. Let's see if we can get the 14 feet here. I just want to make sure I get to the drywall here. We got the drywall there, so perfect. Let's make this 14 feet. Perfect. So that's gonna be our mechanical space. Yeah. Okay. We have a little bit of a weird thing going on here. Grid line 3, I think. So I'm just gonna zoom in there and try to take care of that connection on grid line 3 up here. And you can see like there's this weird thing going on. But again, just use the trim command. So TR, and it cleans up very nicely. Okay, perfect. Okay, so with that, we'll stop here, and then in the next video we'll cover how to do doors and windows. Okay, see you everybody.